Or do you? Are you all set up that way? I don't want to go over stuff you don't need. So you bring up the virtual machine. You should have a machine, I mean, it should look like this if you've loaded it. How many have not loaded it into VMware? Okay. So to load it into VMware, what you want to do is just do open a virtual machine. Okay, so we're not creating one. We're opening an existing one. I'm going to take it to the point of doing it. I won't do it though because I've already got it. All right, so then what you want to do is you want to go to wherever you downloaded it to. So if you went to desktop, you could look at the desktop, find the name of it that you want, and there should be a little file. I'm going to change the size of things, I guess. For this, I'm going to just zoom. All right, so you just want to go to, and you click on this, and then you basically just click open. Right, and from now on, you should open these from within your virtual. You got it. So you already have it, or no?
Okay, so I'm here.
Where is it? Right, but where?
Yeah, no, because I can't go to the network to download it.
Here, just click on it.
Oh, that's all. Okay, and then file share.
Well, yeah,
God. This does it on my computer too every time.
Holy shit. What's going on? Oh.
I have this stress. Shit.
Is that gonna just
It's like creating a function piece that happened, and it did. So I knew it's gonna need that.
Maybe you haven't done that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I was
Frantically, like.
Voodoo was taking this.
Well,
Luckily, I think she had it. So I keep it on here, so I flash drive. I also keep it on my GitHub. So that
all right, so when you open, you get a couple dialog boxes. One says, did you move it or copy it? It doesn't really matter. It's probably better to say you moved it. Just theoretically, that means that there's no license conflicts. But it doesn't matter. And then it'll give you a dialog box about all the stuff that's connected to your machine, like your keyboard and stuff. Just let that, just do OK. Once, the way you start is you just click the power on this virtual machine. You can do it here or you can do it here. They're the same thing. Have you started downloading or are you waiting
Yeah,
for?
it's going to take a while. So whatever you type code, I'll just type it and save it.
Sure.
So that I'm not too behind.
Yeah. And I will post what I do.
Okay.
And there's a video. There should be a video too. So.
That's the only thing that sucks. I have a lot of homework. I don't have time to look at the videos.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I do this.
Okay.
Which sucks, right?
And I'm loose on time, so.
Yeah.
All right, so I have all of these. I'm going to do OK. I actually maximize these. I'm going to undo the magnifier. Oh, please. don't do this. Oh, I started the, how many people have updates? All right, let's wait a minute for updates. Yeah.
Can you help me just really quick?
Sure.
It's a virtual machine, but not the. Oh, yeah?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you. Every time I come in,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then just say.
yeah, mine did that too.
And then the login for these is just password. Will it? I can virtually attach something on.
Oh, my virtual machine is great, and it didn't crash my operating system, my Windows. I was sure that it was going to do it.
Yeah, the virtual, I mean, basically, they're a nice way to work with. There were times in the past, this is fairly far in the past, when the way to handle the fact that they didn't want different configurations was that we actually swapped out hard drives. Yeah, that was a pain. And the hard drives suffered and failed fairly often because they were constantly being pulled out and put in. They had removable hard drives for those machines, but all right. So I said I usually run in maximized mode so that the whole, I don't have two toolbars to worry about. Same password that's up there. All right, so some people didn't get databases, right? You didn't have the virtual machines. You want me to go through that again? Yeah, okay. So what I would do first, inside here, let me change the mode on this so it's bigger, if it will let me. So I have custom scaling, which means that I have to sign in again. But this is all to make it bigger. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. So you can see better. I am going to just I'm going to type in SQL. And it should give me SQL Server Management Studio, which I just lost because I killed that dialog. So SQL is usually all you have to do. And bring up the Management Studio. And again, for the most part, after you get the databases in there, you can kind of ignore the Management Studio. And in fact, you could load these databases through Visual Studio. So I'm going to connect. And I think I already have the databases, but I'll go through the basic process. The only thing I won't do is, yeah. So I'm going to do new query. All right, so there's a button up here that says new query. I think you can also get it from file. So, and then I'm going on the internet here.
What's the server name?
It just be SQL. Is it local? I think it's localhost. Yeah, localhost. Go to GitHub. So I'm going to do github.com from yesterday. Okay, so that I have. And if you're interested, I have an awful lot of there, and I will post a lot of the articles from class there. Right. So I'm going to database schema. Really two schema that we need to review because I'll use it for examples. And we need to assist with the underscore. I should get the other one. Is it old? All right, so I'm going to, I'll do the book review. Click on that, and it will give, what did it do? I just want to open it. There it is. It'll give me the SQL. Now, as I said, the thing you need to do is do raw. And what the raw will do is it'll get rid of all the formatting that makes it pretty. I'm going to copy this, so I'm going to do Control-A, Control-C. I'll paste to the query window. It has a couple of errors in it, but they are not fatal errors. Actually, we'll execute it again. The very first line just says that if it exists, wipe it out and do it again. So the errors that you get are about the reviewer login, general. So I some login. Logins don't exist in the server as now. But everything else is fine. And then you'll have the database. So you can just run the script. And once you've run the script, unless you really just want to look at it, you do not need it anymore. The database is there. The script is just to create it. So do that. The other one, as I said, the community assist with the underscore is the other one you need. Yeah. So if I go back.
Yeah.
And back. So community under assist with the underscore and do the turn it raw. And once it's raw, copy and paste and then run it. Now they won't show up over here unless you right click on databases and do refresh. Okay. When you run the script query window, they don't show up over here unless you refresh. Yeah. Right. Well, to match what you have.
I should just save this. I forget.
So if you have SQL Express, your connection to SQL Express. If you have a full instance, it's to localhost or the name of that instance if you named it. The dot, when I say dot / SQL Express, the dot is for your machine name. So it may come up machine name / SQL Express. It could also be sometimes local hosted, so your machine name, whatever machine is named.
I'm going to get over this.
It's not going as fast as that. You're the only one downloading it.
And like 30 minutes before class is over.
Yeah.
How do I connect to the machine? Just so I can get set up when it's done.
And then navigate to it.
It's not-
It says it's there with all the files.
Okay.
All right, so we can minimize or get rid of this. Don't need any more email. Do that. So, are we ready to start with other things? Where are you guys? Yeah.
I'm having a hard time.
Oh, what does it say?
It says-
And then the other possibility is,
There. If I put in this, if I put in this. When I put in QM slash SPCon.
See, I was looking for that.
Yeah.
I knew somewhere for it. You just did it.
Okay, this is for the DBR.
Yes. And then what about using a different keyboard? One more thing for me to carry. Prefer her keyboard.
It's a little too low.
yeah, the only thing I can think of is that there must be some Windows that
So then for my next class this room, I made up sitting where you're sitting. Because I was in the 15 minutes for to get that slide. And that's the virtual mission. And that just happened.
Hey, Anthony, what do you mean by new school?
About half of the thing is built next to the Edison side. So like this side of the building is an older building. This side created challenges for IT as we computer era.
I mean, if they've already prepared and the complete infrastructure set up.
Have to deal with that.
I know.
Websites.
I just type code in and make pretty things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I don't make pretty things. I'm not in the design.
According to my web 110 and 120 instructor, I do almost pretty big.
Who do you have for those classes?
For both of them, I had Olga.
Okay, yeah, and
I
older.
love
To my and both.
something check.
Yeah.
We're using,
That one.
we're using another one.
Yes, there's two that we're going to need, and the other is community score assist.
Already have
Yeah, the new one. Yes.
community underscore assist.
Yes.
That's the new one.
That's why I emphasize.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You didn't notice the underscore? No. No. You didn't notice. He said.
Oh, I thought you were
Like,
kidding.
oh, that was well said.
No, it's not been, it's not been sarcastic.
Wow.
I was, okay.
He's been.
I appreciate sarcasm, so that's why I was like, oh, that was well said.
Yeah.
It's like me, he's auditorial. Just kidding. Just kidding. My teachers, that's because I was, yes, I think.
What we did earlier by Shaw.
you could do it on the thumb drive, or you could do it, So theoretically, the virtual machine should still always be, can you say it should be there, but no.
Which is now integrated up here.
Right.
Powered off.
Yeah. No, it's.
You're doing Slack.
Yeah.
People,
From my
other class.
250 class, and for a project that is
That's what
that we like diverse groups of activities in the chapter each other.
I'm still learning how to use Slack.
I can give you I have a video because whenever I work with groups on it, there's always one person in the group that's never used it. And it's mildly entertaining, but it goes through all the basic steps.
I'm gonna send it to I'll give you my emails.
I can because I have it in my email actually.
I don't.
I was connected to it. I realized I was connected to it.
No.
Is that?
No. Although technically Google is attached, but that's only so I can upload Google Docs. Is there faster way to get to it? Because I posted it as an assignment or as an announcement.
We will go get something going here. I restart. Okay.
Is that the,
If that doesn't work,
is that the Slack?
good. It may be the way things are going. It may be done before we get
Given
going.
the functionality within Canvas that is
How we ready? Sort of. How many are ready to go, and how many are still having problems?
and I'm sorry, I struggled with remembering.
All right, not too many still having problems.
Well, I noticed.
Yes. Pronounced it correctly. You didn't say Eric Long.
What that doesn't down
No. Okay. I'm going to send a message through Slack. And I was very send buttons. So I thought I sent it. I did, but I didn't. That I sent. That was pretty successful.
Well, that's actually okay. So don't do too
So I
much.
think
Maybe waste a lot of time.
there isn't a second.
Yeah.
Although I had to look, I'm like, I always hit render.
Just before it out.
Yeah. I put that in.
Time when y'all official stuff. When you're updating it, time. I wouldn't open Visual Studio right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Only on the mobile version of there. What's that?
Don't do the project. Go through website.
But otherwise, most of the functionality is the same no matter what platform
All right, so I think I'm going to start with the Visual Studio now. I know a lot of you don't have it, but I will catch you up. So have you,
So
see, now you got the
should be
Windows thing.
Canvas, yeah. I went to my,
You're gonna have to be patient, it's probably updating.
And yeah,
I
I
went
went
to
to all,
always, in order for me to invite someone, I need their email address. And then I'd also send them the email.
Yeah.
Okay, I've sent you the email, the invitation. If you don't have it, check your spam folder.
One reason yours may be taking so long is that I
And
think it's
also like,
being
hey,
written
I'm familiar
through.
with it. Here's this video.
So,
And I remember-
so let's do Visual Studio. And one of the things that I'm going to do with Visual Studio is I'm going to pin it down on the taskbar here so I don't have to go find it every time. And you can do that by just right-clicking and say pin to taskbar, and it will be there forever after. All right, now yours may take longer to open. So I'll give it a minute. Visual Studio, the first time you run it takes a while. What's your so is it doing anything yet? It's moving. The fact that that's spinning is supposed to be in about
I said right click. Where do you right click? He says you can pin it to your.
Oh, down on there.
You don't want to.
You don't have to click the icon.
So like 10:30.
So that you never have to go in.
So it doesn't go back. I mean, it doesn't go. When you close it. Another new thing today.
Yeah.
Although I went into london.com and I created a playlist for what was it? For C#.
So do you ever sleep?
What's that? I understand the individual words in that statement, but together in that order.
I understand the letters.
You're already doing, you're
I
already
try to
doing
get
it.
about it.
I know, but
I'm thinking about lowering that to 6.
Are we ready yet? Chaos is normal, this, and these virtual machines in the butt. But once you get the turn of them, they're not bad. It's when you first start with them. All right. Now I know that not everybody's ready. So as I said, there is actually all this chaos has been videotaped too. So if you look at the videotape, you may want to skip ahead.
About approximately 30 minutes.
Yes.
You can speed it up.
So I'm going to do, this is what we will normally do, is like, okay? Some of you have gone through the project and you can get a web application through the project, but what it gives you is a bunch of files. At this point, we don't have much. So we just do a website.
Do you want to one of the databases first?
We don't need to.
Oh, okay.
We actually don't ever need to connect to them. You might want to so that you can refer to them.
Okay.
But the connection is actually done with that in code with the connection object.
Oh.
So we want an empty website. We want it to be C#. Make sure of that because if it's basic, match. And then we can give it a name. And the place I tend to let it go where it wants to go, and then I change the name just at the last thing. And what you're naming here is the folder. Also, as some of you have noticed, if you don't name it now, you don't get to name it.
yeah.
Yeah. So you want to name it here. So I will call this, I called it ADO example last time. What is it? What assignment are we on? 2, 3? 3. So let's call it assignment 3 example. Okay, and you can do whatever you want. You can even leave it as website 3 or 4, whatever you want. But if you leave it as website 3, about 2 weeks from now, when you're trying to remember what you have it. So I'm going to do OK. And as I said, the things will speed up after we get beyond all of this stuff. Speed up in being easier, not necessarily in being more horrific. All right, so when you do an empty website, this is what you get. It's an empty website, right? The advantage of this is that everything you make in this is going to be pretty much your own. Couple of things that we're going to do today because they're part of the assignment. So I'll just write them up here a little bit. Basically, we need to handle a login. And in the login that we're doing here, I mean, in some ways I'm giving you the stuff that you need for your assignment because it'll be pretty close to identical except for a different database. And when you log in, we're going to get the user's ID, right? And we're going to write that to a session variable. And then we'll use that session so that when we go to a second page, you can only see it if you're logged in and if you have a session, right? So, because those are parts of the assignment. So I'm going to do something parallel to these. I'm not always going to do things quite parallel. It's getting there.
Yeah, 78, 79.
Yeah, you might get there before, I mean, you might be able to actually catch up. You'll have the same issue right now. What's it doing? Does that visual?
I'm waiting for the visual.
Yeah, so it takes a while. You're not too, and I haven't done much yet. I am real quickly, and this is not a necessity of the requirement of assignment. It's not a requirement. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to make a connection to the database so I can just show you elements as we go through without having to go back to the Management Studio. So I'm going to right-click, add a connection. All right, so on the virtual machines, this is localhost, and you might have another dialog box. The first dialog box would be that you want to connect to SQL Server. All right, so do SQL Server. I don't have that dialog box because I connected to SQL Server yesterday. Localhost, here's another thing. Generally, don't click on this drop-down button. It takes 30 seconds to time out, and it never shows you your servers anymore. So if you just type in localhost, or if you're using SQL Express, /SQL Express, it will work. And one of the ways that you know that it worked is down here, you should see your databases, right? And I'm going to click view. And then you don't have to ever do this, but I'm going to test the connection. In a way, this is sort of a red herring. It doesn't tell you anything's going to work. It tells you that it sees the database. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to do, I'll do OK on that. And then if I do OK, over here, we will have, as we did before, the list of all the tables, and we can look at things, and it can be useful. I'm going to do a right-click on this and do New Query. And again, none of this has any direct bearing on the assignment, but sometimes it's nice to have these connections so that you can see the database while you're working with it. You know, because it's really hard to remember the names of the tables, and it's really hard to know exactly what data is in there and things. So this can be useful. I think this is fine. I'm just going to do OK. And then I'm going to write some SQL in here once it. Did everybody get that error?
I didn't.
You didn't, so I think it's just me. Oh, but the assignment is going to be. Well, assignments with community assist. Yeah. This is the example I'm doing is the book review. Why is it taking so long to spin here? It's spun for a while. Will it let me type here? Not yet. Again, this isn't part of the assignment. I was just going to show you what the login looks like.
This is on. If you right click the query, are you gonna get the SQL page?
You should. You should.
You should be able to.
Right. So I'm going back to the server. I'm going to right click. New query again. Let's see.
Oh,
This.
that's what you did.
That's what I did.
Okay, I didn't. I was trying to connect with my.
Yeah.
If I just have SQL Express, what should I name my server name?
It's going to be SQL Express.
Okay, just call it.
So you just do add connection.
Oh, that's what I'm on. I'm just in the server name.
I think it's just,
The server name would be /SQL Express.
Alright, so,
Unless you want to write your home machine name.
That's what happened to mine. I didn't do it on purpose.
But,
Yeah, my name is my computer's name.
yeah, that's fine. If this doesn't stop spinning, I may just skip this. Or, you know what I can do? Because I just want to show you what the logins look. Did it stop there? It did. Can I write though?
No, because then they give you a line number and a cursor on line one.
Yeah. No, it's not working. I'm going to go down here. And I do a new query. This is not, again, this is just to show you. I'm going to use book review DB.
so for the name, we put /SQL Express.
Backward slash.
Oh, backward slash.
It doesn't matter whether you can or not. It's not case sensitive. All right, so what I want to do is show you in this. The table that has the reviewers. So I'm going to do select star from reviewer. And some of this, as I said, is just prep, but this is also something that you'll see in Community Assist. Now notice I have the plain password in here. I don't know that I do in Community Assist. You should never have the plain password in there. I just did it so it's easier to work with. This is the hashed password. And this is a random key. So the best practice if you're storing data passwords in a database is to hash it, but to combine it with some sort of element, at random number or something, concatenate it and then hash that, right? So what that means is that when you go into match, the hashes are not reversible. They're not like encryption, right? A good hash cannot be reversed. Some hashes have been broken. Yeah.
Are we supposed to search SQL Server what's in?
No.
Because I'm getting this, it won't let me connect to the database. That's all.
Well, yeah, so that's a different question. Go ahead and do okay. Right click on that, and then go to right click and do computer manager. Why is it not hitting the right click? Oh, there you go, computer management. All right. When it pops up, why is it? So this is okay. We need to. you want me to do?
Yeah, do you want to take the driver's seat?
Go to services and applications. Go into SQL servers. It'll come up with it. I have to log out again.
Okay.
So, let's switch users.
Oh, no, just like you do your thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and local host. I know. And then video program.
So I'm fixing something over here. One of the things I want to show you over there, though, is that there's a double-click SQL Server Services. There is a second one. Right-click Start. There's a stored procedure that will do the login for you. I'm going to show you how to use it. Just do okay. You should be able to connect now. All right. So basically what we want to do when we log in is it's going to try to set a password, right? And a username. It's going to take the password, it's going to retrieve the random number, and it's going to create a new hash. And it's going to compare that hash to this hash. But again, you don't have to do it manually, because I have written a stored procedure called reviewer login. I will show it to you. I'm doing it create to a new query window. You don't have to worry about that. I just want to show you that it exists. But one of the things that it does is it will compare it will get the values, it'll compare the hashes, and it'll tell you if it's good or not. Okay. There's one exactly like this in Community Assist. All right, so it'll do both those things. And you won't have to. But so I'll show you how to call a stored procedure. You guys have what a stored is? Well, it's a SQL. It's basically where you've created a executable SQL file. Yeah, we'll just call the execute, and it has some parameters. So if you note right at the top, it takes the username and the password. And I think the username here is just the email.
Which stored procedure are you using?
No, yeah. No, they have a username here. I'm using the stored procedure reviewer login. But we'll get there. We're going to start that. So we're going to start the login in just a minute. Let me get her restarted.
Okay, and then here. What?
I don't want the goddamn. Sorry.
These are all stuff you shouldn't go to.
Right. These things don't matter.
He showed the code.
These are just giving you background.
See. Everything except. Except that I can't get code to show up. Yeah, there we go. I think it's on the other tab. Wait a minute.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
right.
How did you show the store when you were logged in? How did you show the code for that?
I right-clicked on it and said scripted.
Oh,
You
thank you.
don't have to do that. I just right-clicked on it and I chose script stored procedure as create, and then I did it to new window. All right, so let's go back to Visual Studio, and I think we can actually get started here. Don't worry about the due dates, obviously. I mean, on the assignments, we're not going to get there quite yet. I will give you some time to work on this too. If we can get through this today, which is when it's done rebooting, log in again and it should work.
Okay.
I had to turn off.
Download anything?
Start over at the beginning.
No, but I had to remove Hyper-V. Hyper-V and VMware will not live on the same machine because they want the same memory resources.
In my Linux class, I had to migrate between different computers over there because I kept on getting the Hyper-V warning.
Yeah, so I can turn off the Hyper-V, but I had to log in as admin to do it. And I did, so I removed it. Now what it's doing, when it's rebooting, it says it's updating, but it's removing all those Hyper-V elements. And you're okay, everybody okay? I am back to this. Let's create a class here for the purpose of logging in. Or do you want to make the Windows form first? We could do either way. What? Windows form? All right, so let's add the form. So I'm just going to right click, add web form. I will leave it as default, although you could name it login if you want. I'm already exhausted and we've gotten nowhere yet.
Still early.
Yes.
Booting up, trying to reload software. You know, you just see something at the end, you're like, all right, now I'm ready to work.
I think you
Now why isn't it loading?
Because it's a virtual machine.
I'm going to give it a minute and then I'm going to restart Visual Studio. It worked before.
Yeah.
That error that you guys didn't get must be the problem.
Yeah, I think it's just they're trying to teach us the patience that we need to have as coders to deal with. You go home and you don't even have to shut it off. And I think you look your mouse.
So the good news for the people that are having trouble getting started is it's taking me forever to get started. All right, so I'm going to do a new when it gives me a shot. What I'm going to do isn't that hard. Once we get going, it may not take, we should still be able to finish it. All right, so I'm going to do File, New, Website, Empty Website. You guys don't have to start over, it's just me. I I'm just going to call it assignment 3. Last time I said assignment 3 example, but or maybe assignment 3X. All right, so I'm going to do OK. I'm going to add the web page. That's where it was frozen. So I'm going to add web form default. Yes.
Success.
All right. So there's nothing special here, although I have had people be confused in the past. Also, if you're a CSS, what do you want to say? A little bit snobbish about it. I'm going to use a table. Not for the whole page, but just for the login. But that being said, a lot of people just, no, you shouldn't use a table for positioning at all.
How do you add CSS on there? Do you just
So you can add a CSS file to over here. So
Okay.
you just do add new style sheet, and then you can attach it to your pages.
okay?
And you can style, HTML normally.
Does it link it automatically?
No, you have to drag it on to link it or type it in.
Okay,
I could do that when we're done. I'll show you.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally just drag it to here and it'll make the link for you.
Word. Okay.
Or you can type the link in if you really want. So I'm going to just say login here. I could even say reviewer login, whatever. It's just, this is just HTML, right? I'm going to do a table. And again, you don't have to use a table if you really prefer to position it with CSS. I'm just doing this to make it look neat fairly quickly. I'm going to do a table row. And each row will have basically 2 cells. And in those cells, the first cell, I'm going to do the toolbox. I'll pin it. The first cell will have, actually, I could just type it in. What is it? I'm sorry.
Before it got done, and then starting to do another countdown.
So I'm going to do username. And then in the second cell, I'm going to do a text box. So we want to go down to the text box. And I just drag it in, and I'm going to call it user text box. You can name it whatever you want, but it's good to have some kind of naming convention. Okay, so then I'm going to do another table row, and I'm just going to copy this one. And this one, instead of username, I'm going to say password. Oops, that's a habit. And I'll just call this password text box. Get rid of the one. I'm going to do one other thing, which you may not want to do just because, but I'm going to do text mode equals, and let me just break the line so it's on screen better. Text mode equals password. It actually should give out. What that will do is it'll put the little hash, little dots across the thing so you don't see the password. Does that make sense? So just got 2. What is it doing now?
I just can't. It's not working on it for the day. I can't do it. It's all good. I'll get it on mine.
What is it doing now?
It just won't even let me type it. Every time I try to type something, it's locking up. I have to shut down Visual Studio and restart Visual Studio 5. I'm cool. I'll get it on mine.
All right. I'm wondering if something's running in the background that's causing that. All right. So anyway, we've got this. I'm going to do one more row. And this row will have also 2 cells. So we could copy, but I'm going to do a little bit different things. So in the first cell, I'm going to put a button. And this button will be for login, so I'll just call it login button. Get rid of the 1. I'm trying to do a naming convention, and here I'll just do login. Are you close? And then for the last one, I'm going to do a label for right now. And I'm going to put that label in as, I'm going to call it result label. Get rid of the 1. And I'm going to get rid of the text. Later we'll change it. The result label will basically be for errors.
You would label inside of a cell?
Yeah, so I have a label, I have a button in a cell. And I have a label in a cell. So if we were to look at this in design, right, so I have my header, I have my table, I have username and a place for that, I have a password in that, and I have a login and a label. So it should look a lot like a regular login. And you could style that any way you want it. Complaining table. Yeah. To the. What is it giving you?
What kind of button? Just a regular button? A list button? Image button?
That was for the login button?
Yeah, just a button. Just a button.
Okay, that's the second one, and then on the third one, we didn't name it. And yeah, so I don't know if it's one button. Yeah, you can do it that way.
Hey, Jeremiah, I think that your picture is on one of the main IT websites for Seattle Central.
They came in like.
Unless it's a guy that looks just like you, but I didn't want to say anything earlier in case he got mad and said that doesn't anything like me.
Well, I forgot, it was one of Bill's like.
I remember that.
Yeah, they came in like 2 pictures. Oh, if we use them for like a brochure. I was like,
Yeah, because you're wearing flannel, and that photo you're wearing it right now reminds me. I'll try to find that link and send it to you.
I'm way behind.
Okay.
And then choose the button to login button, change the label to. So the text is just going to be login. That's okay, you're fine.
Yeah, that's all.
So if we need, I will go, I want to do at least get through the login and we can post this. And I know that some of you are behind. I will make a point of getting you caught up if I can. And hopefully this won't be a thing where every time it fails on some machines. So let's build the code for the login. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and it's better form. Do this in a class. We could do it inside, inside the button, but it's better to do it in the class and then call that from the button. It's just better form because you're separating out functionality. It's kind of like doing your PHP as an include file rather than writing it into the page, right? So I'm going to do class. Now, if you haven't done this, most of you have just started, so you probably need to go to add new item. That's about down. And I'm going to name it, I think I'll call it login class. I don't want to call it just login because that's a reserved word. So I just called it login class. I'll add it. It gives you the thing. It says you really should put it in an app code folder. So I'm going to say yes, and it will create the app code folder and add the login class. Okay, now since this is a login class, do I want to change? I want to do a couple of things. I'm going to make, I'm debating this. Do I want to make it so you can only do it if you pass in some arguments? So the arguments would be like a string user. Let's do that lower. String password. All right, so if I do that, if you guys have not done constructors with arguments, that means I can't call this class unless I pass the password and the username. I could do an empty constructor too, but I don't think I need to do that. I'm also going to up here, so remember what we had to do last time? Anybody remember? Yeah, we need to call some libraries. We need system dot, I don't know if we need dot data, but let's add it anyway. And we need using system dot data dot SQL client. And although we haven't done this yet, I should do this right now. We should add the connection string. So I'm going to do using system dot configuration. Okay, so those are the 3 libraries that we'll probably need. And if you want to comment them, I could comment them. General data tools, SQL Server data tools, and tools for talking to the config file. Okay. So I'm going to add the connection to the string to the config file, and then we'll come back to this and finish this up, because we need that before we do our connection. Okay. Guys with me? So the config file is down here. And you can double click it to get it into the window. Notice we have tabs here. There are times when we will have a half a dozen tabs across here, or more, right, from different files that we're working with, just to warn you. Do you guys remember what I did last time? I just double clicked it in the solution. Is yours still frozen? No, yours is. So under the system web there, I'm going to add connection strings. It's in the IntelliSense. When I close it, it gives me the closing tag. Right, so connection strings, connection strings. We're the connections. So I'm just going to do add and I'll give it a name. So there's a name here, and what name this? I just say book review connection. And then I'm going to do the actual connection string, and I think I'll break this so that it's on screen better. And I'm going to say data source equals, and for us it's localhost. Again, if you're doing this on your own machine, it may not be localhost. Initial catalog is book review DB. And if I misspell anything here when I do a connection, it will show me. And then integrated security equals true. So Windows authentication. So that's the connection string. Couple of things that will screw you. It is a space between data sources, 2 words.
Is it case sensitive?
It is not. Initial catalog. Actually, it might be. I don't think so, though. I actually don't think so. Because I've typed all sorts of weird things in the access word. This is your initial database. So the initial catalog is your that. Integrated security means we're using Windows authentication.
So on here, since I have this all started, servers, winter 17.
Yeah. So actually, all of that you can just sort of just do file,
Just do a
new website, empty website.
Okay, assign it to React.
Yeah, that's what I named it. You can name it whatever.
You break, you can't.
Unless I concatenate. Right, you can't break a literal string. I could break it. If I break it, I'd have to concatenate it together, which I could do. Right. But you can't just line break in the middle of this; it'll throw errors.
Data source needs to be capitalized.
No, it's not case sensitive. I don't think. But it does need to be 2 words. An initial catalog. I see a lot of people, either they do this as 1 word, is one of the problems. And initial could be spelled wrong, or integrated might be spelled wrong. When you do. I mean, those are common errors I've seen. I'm done with this, but do you guys need a minute, or you got it?
If it's data source and it's on our local computer, on our computer, not a virtual machine, would it just be the ./SQL Express or?
Well, so if you're using SQL Express, it would be ./SQL Express. Or if you want it to be, or machine, the dot is just a shortcut for machine name /SQL Express. The dot is just, basically you're just going one directory in. So you can do, localhost is if you have a full installation of SQL Server and it's a default instance of SQL Server. Otherwise, it would be .SQL, or you would be named. If it's on a network, it would typically be a named instance. It is possible, though I'd have to look it up, that you could use an IP address plus a name as well. What? Yeah. I think it usually just wants the name, and the name, so you have to have some sort of connection to it from where you are. Although it could be anywhere, right? If you have the name of it, it could be anywhere. Yeah.
Can I see the left-hand side there? Yeah.
So it's this could be all one line. It needs 2 things. There's other arguments you can have, but it has to have 2 names. It has to have name in the string, connection string. We'll refer to it by the name in our login class. Okay, are we ready to go back to the C# or no? Okay. All right, so let's do. You're going to see why his machine is freezing. All right, so let's do add a connection object. So I'm going to do SQL connection. We will do a lot of this. This is, as I said, this is the old-fashioned way to do it. It gives you the most control. And I want you to see a little bit about it, but we will do some things later where all of this will be kind of hidden from you. So we're going to make a connection object. I'm not going to initialize it quite yet. I'm going to do I'm also going to do string, let's just say string user underscore under, and I'll do a string pass. That'll be our password. So I'm making class level variables for those. And then inside of here, I will say that user equals user name. I should probably capitalize the N on this. Doesn't matter, but just for naming convention. Pass equals password. So we're assigning the values to the variables that came in here. And then I'm going to do a string next is going to be configuration manager. Dot connection strings, square bracket, and then we want the name of our connection string, which was book review connection, right? And we want to turn that to string, because as I said last time, it always makes you do that, though I don't know why. Let me again, the reason I'm breaking the line is to put it all on screen better.
Still review the input review connection.
All right. Did I spell it right when I did it in? Let's look at my web config.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, they have to match, right? Otherwise, it doesn't know what it's going after. Thank you. Good eyes. I think that's all I need to do in the constructor. All right. So let's do a, we'll also do a public method where we get the, and it's going to return an int and get, what do we want to call this method? Validate login? Can name it whatever we want. All right.
How long does it take to get one of these things to open?
It shouldn't take so long. Why is it taking so long?
I don't know.
You know, I think it's open. Do view, and you want to look at Solution Explorer, top one.
Starting on blank screen.
Yeah. Sorry.
Can you do a right screen on that? You can
What do you mean?
move over to the right just for a second. Because I didn't get the left.
All it is two string. Yeah. But I think it was mostly that you didn't have this Solution Explorer. It wasn't that by default, so she didn't see the files. So, and the reason why this is red underlined is it wants the int, right? What we're going to use that int, what we want to return from this is the user ID. Now, I tried to get the stored procedure to return the user ID, but it doesn't. It just returns a kind of random number, and a -1 if it fails. So we're going to have to do a secondary query to get the user. First of all, what we'll do a, we've got the configuration manager. I'm going to do command object. So I'm going to do SQL command, that should have a capital S. I'll just call it CMD. And I'm just going to make a new that we did last time, because I want to give it, I'm going to do cmd.connection equals connect, cmd.command type equals command type dot stored procedure. Everything seems a bit redundant there. And then I'm going to do cmd dot command text equals, and what was the name of our stored procedure? USP underscore reviewer login. Okay. Kind of set it up. We're instead of using SQL string, it's going to use this stored procedure. Here's another thing. As I said, that we're doing this. It's fairly complicated, but we need to add a couple more things to this command object. We need to pass it some parameters, right? So I'm going to add a couple of parameters. CMD dot parameters dot, and I'm going to say add with value. And again, I'm looking here. The parameters were at review username. And I'm copying it, but you could just, so I'm going to do that. Is that right?
Where did you just copy that from?
From our procedure, but you could just do it. I'm not sure if it needs quotes. And what I'm going to pass to it is user. Yeah, it does need quotes because it's happy. And then I'm going to add another parameter, add with value. And I think, so again, you can, I was just looking to be sure. It's just reviewer password. So you have to kind of know these things. But I think in the assignment I gave you the names of the parameters.
How would you find them if you didn't know them?
You'd have, well, so if you had the connection to the thing, you could just go look, or let me do it here because it should look about the same. When you see the reviewer login here, if I do that, you can see the parameters right there. And you should be able to do exactly that in the Visual Studio as well, right? If you have the connection. I lost the connection when I had to restart. I could remake the connection. So all of this is just to set up this command object. You know, we basically say what connection it has. It's going to use a stored procedure. This is the name of the stored procedure. These are the parameters the stored procedure requires. And we're going to use the user that was passed in, and we're going to use the password that was passed in to replace those parameters. Does that make sense? Again, this is a lot more, there's a lot more typing and a lot more work here than there will be when we do the data introduce later, because it'll do a lot of this for you. So then we need to connect. So I need to open the connect. And we'll just do open. I'm going to do int cmd dot, why does it not give me, oh, int something equals, int I think it's just execute non-query. For some reason with ADO, anything that is not a select statement is a non-query. And then actually, so that should be all right. So I'm going to then close the connection. I still don't think this is the int I want to return, because I'm pretty sure that this int will be like just a 1 or -1. So I'm going to add another method. Am I going to confuse you? Probably. This will be private int get user key. And what I'll do is I will do secure. So I want a string SQL equals select reviewer key reviewer where reviewer. I just need to see the reviewer table. Actually, it's over here. Where reviewer username equals username, and we have a plain password here, which is kind of silly. Again, I realize the community doesn't have the plain password. But you can, let's just do where reviewer name, so reviewer username. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable here. I'm just going to say @user. Does that kind of make sense? We want the key for the reviewer. So I am going to create a command object, SQL command, and call it, it might call it CMD again. It's in a different method, so it's separate. Equals new SQL command, SQL, and connect. So we're just making a new SQL command. We're going to pass the SQL statement through the connection, but we have to give this parameter about. And so what I'm going to do is I'll do CMD parameter add parameters, and then add with value. And then I'll just name it what I did there, @user, comma, user. So we'll replace the username with the user that they passed in.
That's a replace statement.
Yeah, basically it's saying that what's stored in this variable will replace this. Does that make sense?
Sure, but why is it called why is it called add with value? That's what that means, replace.
That means add with a, so you're adding the parameter and you're also adding the replacement for it at the same time. This is the value that will replace it. There are other ways to add it. I don't want to necessarily go there, but you can create a parameter as a separate object. And then you could add the parameter, and the parameter belong to this command. I mean, it could get a lot. This is the way, but this only works we have. So, I have, in fact, if anyone is really interested, because I'm going to show you other ways that are actually easier. But I have big, thick books on ADO, and they are thick. There's a lot you can do. So I'm just going to open the. Actually, I need a. I think there's to do the SQL. And I'll make no. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it likes to be initialized. I'm going to do connect.open. I'm going to make the reader equal to CMD execute reader. I think I'm just going to do a quick loop for E. I want to do trying to remember. I think it's actually, let's do for int I equals 0, I is less than reader dot I know what it is I want. It's been a long time since I've done this. While reader dot that's what I wanted. Int key equals reader so we're just selecting the key. I've done this before many times, but my brain is gone. So get field value. Reader dot oh, I know what it is. Reviewer key. I don't know if this will work or if I have to parse it. Oh, and I need to declare key outside the loop. and then key. Does that make sense? And then I want to close, actually before I do that, I want to close the connection. Connect, close.
Can you explain what you've done there?
Yeah, well. And probably should have gotten to, but okay. So, as I said, I think there's a better way to do this, but it treats what you get as having multiple values even though there's only one value. So basically what I needed to do is to loop through the reader, even though there's only one value in there, and assign the searching for key, right? So that's all that's going to be in there as a key. I'm going to assign it to this variable key. That's the key of the reviewer, the ID of the reviewer, basically. And then, so what this whole point of this is just to go in there and figure out what the ID is, because we need that for the reviewer. Does that make sense?
I mean, in an abstract way, but I don't feel zero ability to reproduce something like that.
I wouldn't necessarily expect you to reproduce it like copy. I mean, when the assignment is fairly similar. So we have a string, SQL. We want to select the reviewer key from the reviewer where the user equals whatever they entered as reviewer name. Now, because this is just a variable, it's a SQL variable, but you can't pass that until it has a value. We created a new command object that's going to use this SQL string in the connection that we made, right? It's an object, and it gives value to that parameter, that variable, based on the user that name that was entered into the class. Because before they in the class have to pass in their username, and it's assigned to user as the local variable. All right, so then we have a reader to read it. As I said, I think there's a couple of ways that might be a little bit more efficient. I think there's a scalar value that where you're reading just for one value. You still focus on that? Cool. Okay, so we open the connection, right? So we're opening the connection that we made up above. We are initializing the reader. I initialized this variable so that I could use it to return it. I'm looping through the reader, and I said that's the part that I think is probably a better way to do that. But I'm looping through the results that the reader is getting from the database. I'm finding the reviewer key that's being returned, and I'm assigning that to the key value. If there were multiple keys, you would end up with the last one. It would just keep looping to find it. And then I close it, and I read the key. And actually, when like you say, no idea how to reproduce that, that's perfectly understandable. I wouldn't necessarily expect you to know how to reproduce that. How did I learn to do it? I have examples in code books, right? Or on the internet. If you Google how to use you Google ADO and how to retrieve something, you'll get something like that. You might actually learn something like that. Yeah.
Can you scroll back up to your validate login from it?
Sure. No, it's still because we finished it. One thing to add to that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to call one. It returns an int, right? So then I'm going to return that int. So what I'm actually going to just say is probably return, well, probably what I would say is, let's do int key equals 0 again. And I would say if result not equal -1. And the reason I say that, if minus it, right, the storage failed, it didn't find, it just stored procedures -1 if they fail. If result not equal to -1, which means that it worked, it did find some number, something, it found a match. Then I'm going to say equal user key. And I will return. Now, what happened, if it's not good, it's going to return 0, right? In the login, you have to do is say if it's not equal to 0, then it's a valid login. Is that? Right here. Oh yeah, I did. In the private one, I did a return key at the bottom. They different variables, they have the same name because they're in different scopes. Right, so. We're almost done with the plugin. I'm not sure we're going to get any farther than that today. Does that make sense? It's okay. It does.
So you're adding the first string that's like an SQL command or something.
Right, and it has this variable or parameter.
Right. That variable info that you're assigned to user, or is it
right. So basically, this says that when you pass this string, substitute user has a value to the. One of the things I might do, since I don't think we're going to be up today, is once we, walk through it, how the things are passed.
Yes.
What happens when you call this login class, you have to pass your username and your password. This is using the username, right? And it's substituting that. There's another to this, but probably equal close. One of the advantages is that it name it will reject it as in packet roots or so, and which can be a pain if you're trying to pass something with a special character, it won't let you. Whereas if you concatenate it in, you can pass in whatever. Right. You could pass in a SQL statement or something, it would just pass it in. But, so it's a little less safe to concatenate it. Yeah, so the parameters are basically pass server parameters need to have a value. Right, so yeah, we're just passing in the user. Let's see if it works. And the way that we have to go work, I guess we can walk back to this and I will post this. And we'll probably do a little bit more on Monday. It's hard to believe it's Wednesday and the week is over for this class. And as I said, things should go more smoothly as we move on because hopefully we won't have everybody's virtual machine getting set up and other things. Not that it'll ever be perfect. There'll be times I have to run around and stuff. So let's go back to default ASPX. I'm in the design view and I'm going to double click the button. So we have the login button, click. If you don't double click the button, then as I said, you have to type this in both places. So I'm going to just initialize my class, login class, and I'm just going to call it LC equals new login class. And when I start this, notice it takes the two parameters. I have to do that. I have to pass in the parameters. I am going to be a little bit short here, which you probably shouldn't do. I'm going to say user text box dot text. You should probably validate these a little bit at this point too, but and then comma, and I'm going to say password dot text. Password text dot text, right?
Is it a comma?
Yeah, it's a comma.
Oh, so this is called, yeah, this is all.
Whatever you named your text boxes to. So you probably should validate them and just take the text out of them before you pass it in, but I'm going to be. So we're passing in the username and the password. The other thing that I occasionally see where you get it wrong all the time is if you flip these. It won't complain because they're both strings, right? But they have to be in the order or it'll never match. So I am going to do int key, and you don't have to name a key, could be whatever, is going to be lc dot validate login. So basically, we're calling that, we're going to assign the results because it returns an int to a variable. Then we're going to say if key not equal to 0, then I'm going to do that result label. Dot text equal welcome, and I'll just let it be that. And then I'll say else result label text what do we want to call it? Invalid login. Now there's another thing we want to do, but let's just see if this works, and then we'll add one more thing to it. So the logic here, we're calling the class that we just wrote. We're passing it the username and password. Then we're calling login, which was all that code we wrote where it, went in and checked, used the stored procedure, checked the hashes. If the hash is matched, it returns like 1 or something. If it fails, it returns -1. So if it returns -1, it does a 0. Also, if it searches for it, it can't find the username, it will return a 0. So either way, if it returns 0, it will be an invalid login. If it returns anything other than 0, it should be a valid login. So what I'm going to do, so first of all, I have to get a username. And as I said, in this example, but yours doesn't have it, does have a password. I'll show you what the password, all the passwords in Community Assist are the same. Their last name, pass. So it's whatever the last name is with the pass. So in this case, let's do the second one. We've got Mary G is the username, and the pass is just Mary password. Let's see if that works. So it should return a 2. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to run this. All right, there we go. Slowly, slowly. Everything seems slow today. Really slow. As a side note, if you're ever deploying these, .NET websites are really slow the first time they run because they have to compile all the code. So if you're going to deploy it, you want to pre-compile everything before you run it. And then it'll be much faster. All right. I will
You're
post.
posting
I will
that?
post
Okay,
this.
and then
Yeah.
I'll just copy and paste it on Monday.
Okay. And this isn't the assignments, it's sort of a how to preview to the assignment.
How-to tutorial.
So it was what, Mary G? And it was Mary password, right? And it was all lowercase. Yeah. I have like a 3-second memory. Let's see if it works. No, I don't want to save it. Okay, so we got a failure at the connect open. The connect open, if it fails there, do you guys remember what the problem is? Did you guys all fail there?
Yeah.
What? No, it's actually, if it breaks on the open, it's this. What is the name of the database? Did I do it wrong? Book Review DB. That's actually correct. So why is it breaking on the... Let's go back to... Oh, I shouldn't have stopped it.
Is in your store statement,
Store procedure?
yeah, I noticed that your password, your plain password, I couldn't find your password in the list on the store procedure.
Oh, yeah, that might be... That actually could be the problem. Let's look at that. Well, I have you review our password here. So reviewer password is correct. Okay, so let's reviewer password, reviewer username. Pretty sure those are correct. It broke on the open. So let's actually, so is it still there?
I still have mine up.
I'm gonna run it again and just break it because I need the error message. It's probably a typo somewhere. So it's Mary G, and it was Mary password. Login breaks there. So let's look at view detail. Object reference not set. But which object? Let me look here. So it has to be something in command equals new command. That's okay. So it's not the first one. Command type parameters. Connect. Connect. Oh, you know what? So I know why. But it should break. It did break on validate. Anybody know why? I do know why. So we did the connection string, but we never added it to the connection. connect equals new SQL connection. And then in the parentheses, we need a connect string. Oh, what does it not like? Oh, I did minus instead of equal. Yeah, we never initialized the actual connection. We did the connection manager for the string, but we never actually made the connection object. That's what happens when you're troubleshooting and running things when you're trying to type. So I added this. We declared it, but we never made it new, right? And until you make it new, it doesn't exist.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm getting this much right on that.
that's because you're running it in the class and not in the web page. So actually, just as this will, if I run it from here on the config file, I'll get a page forbidden, right? You need to run it from the default. Doesn't matter if it's default this one or the ASP CS, but it has to be from the web page. So let's try one more time. Mary G and Mary password. Welcome. So let me do a bad password. Let me just do pass. Invalid login. So it is working now. Do you want me to walk through that? Yeah.
Show the default ASPX.cs file again.
So this is, let me kill the run. This is all the code. See, I didn't put anything in page load. So I call the login class, pass it the values, get the key back from the validate, check to see if it's equal to 0 or not. And then that. So
How about, is there anything above that?
no,
No code was added.
no code was added about that.
Oh, I didn't have that page load, so
You didn't have what?
I didn't have the page load on.
So what are you in?
Should that not matter?
No, it should be there. Why would it not be there?
Yeah, why did that matter?
No. Yeah. Yeah, let's just go back. I don't know that it matters if you're not using it, but actually I think it'll probably, it might actually call that method whether you have code in it or not.
Oh, yeah, you can go.
Yeah. All right. So there's an error.
Oh.
That's one of the kind of more complicated. Application is just completely complicated. Did you break it? Then add to repair?
So basically, how many worked? Like 1, 2. All right, maybe I'll troubleshoot a little. I'll come around and see what I can do on that. There's only one other thing that I would do here. And we will probably redirect next time and add a session variable. I'll do the session variable now just so I remember. Session, we need to give it a name. So I'm going to say user key equals key. So that creates a session variable that'll be stored on the server that we can refer to later. I think we will let it go. So now you've got to be
Yeah, let's do it. I was able to follow here, but you should be able to too, because we just do it at the same spot. I'm not the first screen. Are you running from the same place? You have, whatever, you always have to run from your ASPX.
Did you know about Mary G's password?
Mary password.
So log in. And then, oh.
What's the last one? Let's do that.
But then I'm getting an error when I try to log in. Then
Yeah.
okay, so type in username Mary G.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mary. Yeah, just normal, yeah.
Sorry.
So yours is right. I think because you had it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was the first place. So yours is getting this here. So stop.
Yeah, I understand. I totally. I am getting an message.
What's your error message?
Let me run it first. Let's see.
I have a internet security keyword.
I
And
have.
it's highlighting my phone.
Okay, let me see. Invalid login. Okay, so I don't know. It's taking me right here. So.
This is a detail.
Okay, so what I think we're doing for this, we're getting the password correctly.
Okay,
That's why I have a password.
Is that the word we use?
You're not in this class, are you? Oh, you are? Did you get this code working?
Yeah. Period.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah, and I'm trying to.
So I got, so what is the password for Mary? Yeah, what is her real Mary password? MaryPassword, all small case. Okay, let me try that. Can I see your? So I'm getting, when I get the correct password, I'm getting it.
You know what? You added this to. So you added this to the other one. So you should have the same error.
Oh, so we called it different.
It is like the troubleshooting is exactly where you.
Well, you know how to make it.
There we go. Thank you.
Because you added it to your other thing, and that should go express rather than.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how are things?
See you guys later.
Like,
See ya.
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. All right, thanks.
I almost wanted to plug it in just to see what you were into.
Oh,
See ya.
Want me to send you the files? Yeah, but it'll just give you something. Yeah.
So what else?
All right. Especially the videos. I will follow that.
But it's to follow.
I just fixed it, but it was, it's just a simple. So it's okay. Okay.
Alright, so.
Liz, I hit you the wrong button.
You know?
I promised Kira I would.
That's it, guys.
No, I promised Kira I would do it here. Help somebody and information central with. Oh, my God. But I will send it to him too. Yeah. Yeah. We're just.
Oh, okay, so we. Yeah. Oh, got it. And then is it keep small face or big face? Okay. Okay. Myself. Okay, cool. I'll bite real quick and then. Exactly. Then that was all. Yeah. Okay, it's just. That's it. Okay, that's not bad.
Sure.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay, so either.
So I did I did a query for So I just did.
Correct, and you're just, what you're gonna turn in is where the URL where it's on your site.
Oh,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I know, right? Very.
Why he made that in an actual assignment?
I'm gonna come in on Friday and
Well,
if you post the video, then
I
I'll just
think
type
it's
it.
Yeah, I'll post the video and I'll
Yeah.
post this code.
I think
Yeah.
it's helpful because somebody.
I don't know what, I can't see what went on there.
Nothing went on there. It's exactly like that. It's empty.
Yeah, well, because if you don't do that step, then
That's what I say. What I did.
you can't do the other step. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm glad it's,
Does it not see your
that-
window?
and I'm glad we got one assignment done in class, so I can do 12 other assignments.
Right.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
And then do, Google Drives. Yeah, and if you add it, then it'll say this kind of, Lisa, it'll connect it
Yeah,
to
so that's
this.
right, so then you can just try
And then
that.
it's telling you it's just.
How do I make a thing of that?
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna make
I have
a
it.
folder.
But I will get.
Or maybe we need help first, just to do
So. The result label probably won't show up until you have some.
Go to here.
So if you look at the default.
I'm in here and I'm making new folders. There's all.
Well, so there won't be, you won't see the result right until you back to the interest.
Right.
And then press the button. And you click the button. So you're not seeing it. So let's look at it.
Because otherwise, then you get half files. And all these files here, you can't have it.
It's like, I know exactly what that is.
What I'm gonna do,
Get to the doctor.
But he has a Mac, so like.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely no way. Never do that again.
So basically, your audience. Because, you don't think you should.
And so I don't know if I want to.
I don't know, I actually.
Yeah, and there are lots of them.
No yawning.
All right, Eric. I'll see you later, buddy.
No problem. Okay.
You're trying to upload that to GitHub.
Yeah.
This is the right track or not.
Just log in.
I'm just gonna log into GitHub and do it from the web page, but you can on this if you want downloading Windows client
Okay.
from GitHub. So, I mean, you don't, I guess you can load it up for yourself. This is just sample. I'm gonna put it on GitHub right now, I guess.
I got it to work.
Good.
I know, it's not even either. Okay.
So anyway, so that's.
Beautiful. What do you do? It's not working on the one, in the virtual machine, it won't let you drag and drop folders. It won't let you upload folders, you have to upload files. Yeah, but I don't want to do that. Yeah, neither do I. You do, Steve?
Bye.
This is what I originally told my brother. Yep. And then he just did it, and then it's just. Good one.
Yeah.
So, we have an issue with GitHub, you probably know. From the virtual machine, it won't let us drag and drop folders.
It won't?
No. And won't let us upload folders, it wants us to upload files.
Well, you can do that. You can create folders on the web page.
Okay. Yeah, something's wrong, or we're doing something wrong.
So you initialize a new repository, right?
Well, we have like this whole class as one repository, and we're making files within that repository, so we don't want to start a new repo.
I mean, if I have to start a new repo, I'll do it. But I'll be thinking of it whilst doing it. So, I'll say I'll do that. I think I can make something work. I know what I can do. You can probably drag and drop folders from the virtual machine. You can on the main machine, and then
Well, you can drag and drop each individual one into a folder, but it'll just be like one separate file. And you'll have to go back to your.
no, I mean like this. I mean, this is virtual machine. This is physical machine.
I'm sorry, I think you're still gonna have the same problem.
Yeah, probably. But in the meantime, this will be easy, if I can get this to work, then I will be. Or it could be something with Microsoft Edge, as opposed to like, on my physical machine, I upload and GitHub using Chrome, and on the virtual machine with Microsoft Edge. So, I'm gonna play around with that.
You might also try installing the GitHub client, desktop client on the virtual machine.
I haven't yet.
Okay.
But yeah, that's another thing I can do, yeah.
It's like, why don't you do one or the other? Make a file and not add a. You want to make a folder, but you can't find it.
Yeah.
Or you make files outside of a folder.
Okay, that worked. That worked.
Into its own file.
Into his own folder, yep. Okay, Steve, I got something to work.
Okay, I'm just seeing if this worked. It says the file is hidden, but is it? Seems to be.
That's like with on my computer. Sometimes there's like 1,000 different ways to solve one problem.
Well, I can't solve it.
Have a good day, Steve.
Yeah, you too.
Do I need to show you what it is? Or are you not in a position where you can?
I'm trying to do what you said you just did. So there's my assignment. So open Google Chrome here.
Okay. But it's not create new file, it's upload file.
But how can you, where can you name it?
You name it on the folder level. And then if you go back up to,
So I had to change assignment 3 to whatever I want to see.
yeah. But you can always just read it. And you can also make different branches, so you can just like make a separate branch, so it's like 3 branches for everything there.
Okay. Okay, that's where the disconnect was, because I thought I did upload the folder and then change the name of the file tab. But to correct that, I just need to
Yeah,
make the file name be what I want to see called on GitHub.
yeah,
Because I didn't have assignment 3 means nothing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe an assignment.
Now I'll make it back on my desktop.
Okay.
Hopefully that gets it real. So then you just close your virtual machine and then.
Yeah, I mean, I logged out of Steve. Actually, the other thing I need to do is update in the workstation from Google Paranoid and snapshot.
Oh.
Section 2. Maybe have some coffee while still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve,
Hello.
how's it going?
Oh, all right, I guess.
My son's sick, so
Oh,
I don't know if I'm getting it.
Yeah, you too.
oh,
I'll
hope
try to stay
not.
away from people.